Okay, morning everyone, and it's evening over in Caitlin's hometown in the UK. I have Caitlin Wood joining us today. Caitlin is currently racing WSeries, the ESports League, and was selected for WSeries in 2019. And I think the conversation today is not just on her racing the single seater series, but her path that she has created all herself, right from racing karts back home in Australia to where she is today, based in the UK. So welcome, Caitlin.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. Perhaps before we do start in the Esports League, Caitlin, and I kind of touched on the question before we went live. It's quite a journey from growing up in Australia, racing karts in the weekend with family, to where you are now. Can you tell us a little bit about what made those decisions? What prompted you to sort of follow this amazing journey?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think it's hard because I've had a very unique journey as well. Like I think, came over to Europe with the set intention of Formula One, because I knew that was very, a broad goal. So, you find a lot of Aussies, when they do make the step into Europe, it's usually purely for Formula One. It's quite different to sort of step out of that. We've got, Maddie Campbell doing GTs, doing really well, and a few other guys. But yeah, I don't really know. Everything sort of just happened, and I think I took the leap of faith. Really, I just took that leap, which was very scary, but then very rewarding at the end. So yeah, like you said, I grew up in Oz and loved karting with my family and my mates on the weekends, and I guess it just spiraled from there. So, Formula Ford in Australia, and then, you get to that, I think, that pathway in your career, and you have one opportunity to, to sort of stay in Oz with the unknown of, are you going to race? What are you going to race? Like, you're going to be in Oz and you're probably still going to push for the supercar route, but you're just unsure. And then I had, that other pathway lingering there that became available through writer engineering. And it was just like, do I make that leap? And I did. So I moved to Germany, and I haven't really come back. So, yeah.
So if you looked back, you could probably say that the move to Germany, taking up that work role, and racing as well, and then you went on to race in the Blanchpain, the endurance series.
Yeah.
And then after that, the move to the UK.
Yeah.
And so if you like, Caitlin, there was a concertina, I suppose, of one decision led to the next step, led to the next step. Do you think that move to the UK was key as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think after my time in Germany, and everything that I experienced, work related and, personal related as well, like moving across the other side of the world by yourself and being really young, it made me grow up. It made me grow up. So I think once I did it, I was like, wow, okay, I've done this now. And I really enjoyed it. A lot of opportunities came through it. I just don't know if I'm ready to go home. And my visa ran out in Germany. So then we thought, well, the next closest step would probably be the UK. And the UK is pretty much the home of motorsport. So we just, I made that decision and then made the move and got myself sorted with a job and a place to stay and push for racing. So yeah, like you said, I think it's just been one step after the other, just chipping away at it really. So yeah.
Yeah. But the UK, it would be a reasonably competitive, cutthroat environment to even get race time. Caitlin, did you find that?
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot more racing, I feel. I think there's a lot more championships in all categories of motorsport. But yeah, like you said, it can be, it is competitive. It's very competitive, not to say that any other part of the world isn't. But, it's the same with work. I think, coming over here, and I guess I sort of eased myself into it because I became more working as an instructor first before I think I did any races. So that really helped. It made me meet a lot of the racing drivers over here in the UK, make some mates and figure out like what people are doing and make some connections. So, I enjoy instructing and I enjoy helping people, drive fast in a safe environment and, take them to their next level and progress them. So, yeah, it's been really good. It is an eye-opener. No matter where you go in the world, in the motorsport community, we all have the same passion. It's just a little bit different, everywhere you go.
Yeah, okay. And did you do this all on your own?
Well, I can't say I did everything on my own. Like yes, I moved by myself, but that's not to say that has, no credit to my mum and my dad for all their help and support, and my family and my friends. So yeah, it's technically yes, but it's, you never do anything on your own, do you? Like motorsport, in the end, there's a lot of people behind you to make everything happen. So even if you are GT racing or anything, any type of racing, you've got your engineers, your mechanics, team managers and everyone behind you. So yeah, I wish my mum and dad were here sometimes, and I think I sometimes wish I had the Australian weather, but we take what we can get.
It would seem you've made your own breaks and you've made your own opportunities. It was a good judgment call to move in that circle of networking with motorsport people, people in the industry, to put your name out there. And you were working as well. You weren't just waiting for seat time. And that's an admirable trait, Caitlin. Yeah, it shows tenacity that you were there to actually do something rather than sit and wait for the emails to flood in the inbox or the phone to ring. So we go to perhaps we could touch on that endurance race, the 3 hour, because I think it's we're looking at the different hats, I suppose, that you've managed to accumulate, because going to single seater, different game plan, different car, and it shows your adaptability. Can you give us a little bit of insight on that 3 hour Blanche Payne series, the endurance series?
Yeah, so that was a tough year, but such an amazing experience and opportunity. So, jumping over to Germany, and I did European GT4 with Reiter in their Young Stars program, and then I was able to win their Young Stars program, which then promotes you into GT3 the following year. So that's how I made that step into GT3, and yeah, it was mega. It was so competitive. Like Blancpain, pretty much one of the most competitive GT championships in the world, a lot of factory teams, factory drivers, and it was pretty cool to, you know, say that I was racing against like ex-DTM drivers and current DTM drivers and, you know, professional factory drivers. It was just a very cool experience. And yeah, it was hard, and they push you to your limits. And, you know, I think you sort of just get thrown in the deep end and you just try and swim. And that's you know, it was great. I think I needed it. I needed to see how the, you know, the professionalism of championships like that, and just survive, really. So yeah, it was amazing. And, you know, to be able to drive the Lamborghini Gallardo GT3 car for one was just, you know, you have a smile on your face just doing that. So yeah, it in itself was definitely, you know, a big part of my career and making me as a driver, and it threw a lot at me and a lot at us as a team, and we just sort of had to keep pushing through. Like, it wasn't an overly successful year. Like, you know, we finished on the podium at Misano in the silver category class, because we were rookie drivers for the championship, and then, you know, because you're GT drivers, you have teammates. We just, you know, my teammates had a few incidents throughout the rest of the season, which, you know, put us out of the races and things like that. So it can be, that's GT racing. I think, you know, you'll meet any GT driver or someone that's done it, and, you know, they've been involved in something like that, not being able to drive, or, you know, their teammate crashes or they crash, and it's you know, it's a part of it. So it was definitely a learning curve in doing that. So you know, I loved it. It was very much a team environment, and you got to thrive off that. You've got to really work together to be able to get the most. But yeah, it was also disappointing at the same time. Like, you go in to such a professional championship, you know, you feel like you've got to show who you are and get that point across. And I think I sort of came out of that year feeling that I hadn't done that. So that can always be a hard one to swallow, because you've just been given pretty much a once in a lifetime opportunity, and then you feel like you haven't been able to show everything that you have as a driver. So, you know, lifetime, you know, I'll always be grateful to RISA for that, and I've taken so much from it. But it's like you have a bit of unfinished business with you know, that program. So, you know, I'd love to get back into GT racing at some point, but, you know, the past year, like you said, has been focused on single seaters in Formula 3 with the WSeries, which has also been, you know, another life-changing experience in a whole different avenue. And yeah, that was such a big difference in everything. You know, again, such a professional championship with, you know, great women drivers from around the world, following DTM, which was a great platform. And yeah, such a different driving style. You go from, you know, the big GT cars back to single seaters. And you know, in Oz, I had, you know, mainly just done Formula Ford, so I hadn't really had any F3 experience. So it was hard again, because you know, you feel like you're a step behind, not being able, you know, not having that experience, and I guess not having the budget behind you to change a lot of that. But you know, you just push on and you just take whatever you can and sort of be a sponge and just try and absorb all the information that you can to make yourself a better driver and keep improving. You know, and I loved it. You know, I think you can speak to any girl on the grid last year, and we don't, you know, we all say the same thing. We all thoroughly enjoyed the experience, and you know, we want to all be back on the grid for 2021. And yeah, it was, like you said, it was different, the different driving styles. You have to adapt quite a lot, you know, and pretty much with the F3 car, you just have to trust the aero and trust the car a lot more, because it's capable of a lot more than what you think. So yeah, it was great. It was tough, but it was great.
Do you think coming off the back of the GTs and that switch to the single seater, you already had developed a mental resilience, or, you know, pretty tough in being able to accept whatever challenge was thrown your way. Do you think that endurance, and with Reiter in Germany, that set you up for that major switch over to single seater, Caitlin?
Yeah, I definitely think it played a role. Like you said, I guess I do have a bit of a tenacious personality. I'm not one to sort of, turn a challenge down or say no or give up. So I think with that being a part of my personality, it has helped throughout the years, and especially last year. But at the same time, I feel like I didn't maximize what I had in myself, and you can always see that on reflection. But in the time, you're trying so hard. At the same, it was just a tricky year as well. It was an up and down season. Like, we showed pace at Assen, finishing 5th, and we showed speed. We just, when I say I just didn't put that whole year together with a few issues at some races, and that's just motorsport. So yeah, I guess I do have to have that bit of a, just chip on my shoulder and keep pushing along. But yeah, I definitely have unfinished business, and I think that's showing in the esports program that I want to come back bigger and better, and don't we always want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, the esports, yeah, it's kind of like a bit, even though we know that it's not the same as racing, but I got to say, seeing you, pushing in these 3 going for P1, and Wood is in there as well. I mean, yeah, it's pretty impressive. Let's just go to 2019 and the races. What were like specific challenges? Was it the adaptability to the car, Caitlin, or because same specs for everyone, a new series as well, and the expectation? Did you place a high expectation on yourself? Yeah, what were specific challenges?
Well, like you said, I think with it being a new championship, everybody was learning at each race, not just only us as drivers, but, everybody involved in the WSeries, and we just had to learn fast, and that's totally okay. But yeah, so I think, just being on your toes and just going with the flow of everything. And I think one of the challenges was changing cars and engineers and everything every weekend. Been Aussie, I can talk to anybody, so that side of things didn't really faze me. But it was, it is interesting. It was really interesting. You have to have a lot of trust in your own abilities and yourself as a driver to be able to do that. Usually, you build up months of a relationship with an engineer before you go to your first race half the time. So, to meet on the Thursday and then race again on the Saturday together, it was a really cool experience, and also challenging for both us as a driver and the engineer. They have to sort of get to know you and your personality traits and how you like to work as a driver with, radio setup, everything like that, what you need as a driver. And then, you've also got to figure them out and what they need to get the best out of you. So, I think the biggest thing that when I look back on the year, it was just trusting myself and, being fully, knowing that I am good enough, that I am making the right decisions, not second guessing myself all the time, because I think you can get, I just got caught up in all of that. I think halfway through the season, my turnaround point was realistically Assen. In between then, I was just doing too much. I was working full time as an instructor. So, I remember after Zolder, Matt, my husband, we drove back straight through the afternoon, night on Sunday, back to the UK down to Thruxton, and I was instructing on the Monday. Was it Thruxton or Goodwood? One of them. And I instructed all day on the Monday at Goodwood. Then we had to drive the 3 hours back home, unpack, wash everything, and then, you know, back to work the next day somewhere else. And, you know, I didn't give myself time to process those weekends and break it down so that I could be better the weekend, like, you know, that the next following race weekend that we had. You know, I was just trying to keep myself afloat. So that's probably, when I look back, that was the big changer after Mazzano, before us, and Norris Ring. I get mixed up. Before us, and anyways, I really took a step back, and I was like, okay, I'm asking way too much of myself. I need to, you know, break it down. You know, my main goal isn't work. My main goal is racing, and I want to be the best that I can be. So, you know, let's figure this out. So Matt realistically picked it up before I did, because you never do when you're in the moment, do you? You think you can do everything. So he said, like, let's take a few days off, and you take a few days off, and, you know, you just have a break from the sim, from anything, and then, you know, refresh and go again. And that really put myself in a better position for the end of the season. I just wish I did that earlier. So I think, you know, that played a role with me personally. But yeah, I think I'm in a much better frame of mind now with me as a driver and as a person, and being able to juggle everything. So that's really good. You always learn, don't you? You know, you can never say a mistake's a bad thing, because you're always going to learn something from it. It might be frustrating as hell, but you're always going to learn. So yeah, it was interesting. There's a lot of you know, the way WSeries was run was just completely different, I think, to any championship that's ever run. So it was really unique and amazing. And I think they did very, very well for their inaugural year, and just trying to put everything together. So I was, you know, I'm very grateful to be a part of it and to represent Australia. That's really important for me, being the only Aussie on the grid. So, yeah, you always have higher expectations, don't you? You know, you can win a race, you know, lights the flag, and you'll probably come back and be like, oh, didn't do that right. And it's just like, that's when you need to break it down and you know, enjoy the moment.
Yeah, I think and it's probably something that even at this present time, where you know, athletes, riders, racers, drivers are now looking at that compartmental of work, train, race, and when there's no racing, they're so set on that routine, you know, it kind of like throws everything up in the air, and they think, well, what do I do now? And I mean, you already have had a taste of that in 2019, realizing that it has to come down to a time management where just for your own well-being, perhaps, Caitlin, that yeah, what is my priority for this year, and how can I better manage it, so that, you know, I come out the other end sane.
Yeah, pretty much. And lockdown again, like, having, with everything that's going on in the world with COVID-19, just that lockdown period over here, I remember just after the first month, I didn't know what to do with myself, because, you know, I wasn't working and I wasn't racing and I wasn't, you know, my time became so free. I was like, whoa, I haven't experienced this in a while. So even just experiencing, you know, the past 3 months has been, I think, really good for me, again, and also very intriguing. And, you know, I think, like you said, it's just managing your time and still trying to, even though it feels like that nothing's going on in the world, you know, as an athlete and as a driver, you still need to keep pushing yourself. So it's been very, very interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah. And possibly you come out of it the other end, Caitlin. Now that, I think, is it today that UK has released the restrictions on, I think you've got bars and cafes and restaurants that open. Was that it today, or?
So Boris made the announcement yesterday, but it doesn't take place until the 4th of July. So yeah, at
Oh,
this point, it's still just the like necessary supermarkets. A few shops have now reopened, like clothing stores, but yeah, it's been a whole. I think for everyone in the world, it's been a an eye opener, and everything's
mm,
been. I think we've been hit pretty hard over here, so it's been a long time since I've gone out for dinner and things like that. It's we're 3 months in and I haven't gone to the gym. That's also been a new learning curve, is trying to keep yourself as fit as possible and not having the gym. So yeah, it's been interesting. I think we're all waiting for the 4th of July, but as long as everything's been done safely with the right precautions, and the last thing we want is to go back into a second wave or for it to get worse. So I think
mm.
government have done the right thing in prolonging it for how long that they have.
Okay. And the let's look at the sim. Working with the sim for the W Series, and now, I mean, there must be a silver lining that you're using the sim for esports. Who would have
Yeah,
known? Who would have known?
I know.
Um, let's go back to 019, and because you actually went on the sim for the next race after the race on Sunday. Was that right, Caitlin? And how did that work for you?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, we did our simulator time for the next race um, in the W Series. So when we, for example, the first round being at Hockenheim, we raced on the Saturday because there was only one race. Then on the Sunday, we would practice on the W Series simulators for a set amount of time with an engineer for
Oh,
the following weekend. So we were practicing at Zolder on the Sunday of Hockenheim. So that was that was very good. It was very valuable. If I'd only been to a few of the circuits throughout the season, so it was great. It's invaluable, isn't it, to be able to get on a sim, learn the circuit properly with an engineer beside you helping you out, and just really breaking things down. So like I was saying before, I think the W Series, with everything that they had been their first year, they really tried to tick all boxes.
okay. Now, before we go into this year, you're racing the esports. Let's just touch on your work role and as a car instructor, and also the marketing side, and the financials. Um, is it your own business, Caitlin, that you set up, and how did you do it? How do you get get your market yourself? Yeah, take us through those steps.
Yeah, so I am self-employed, so it's technically my own business. Matt and I, we've just got into business together recently, and pretty much just building what we already have with instructing and in-car coaching, but then also building our own cars to pretty much provide the full experience. So it all started just working at Palmer Sport at Bedford Autodrome, really, and pretty much you're just an instructor, so you work for them, and that's pretty much how my career over here has started. So I started working for a bunch of different companies at most of the circuits all across the UK, so for a track day company called Open Track, and a few other companies, and then it's just sort of built that up from there, and then you meet your own you meet people, don't you? Throughout a day you can meet nearly 100 different people, and
Mm.
I think they've been impressed with my coaching, and then you can get your own private clients off of that, or they can just be regulars at that place, and that's just how it works. So at the minute I'm building a 325 E90 and building that up to be a track car, so that I can use that as a coaching tool to rent out for people, so they can rent the car. If they just want to rent the car, they can rent me and the car for the day, and I can help them obviously become a better driver, and also just, you know, help people get into motorsport as well. It's I think after being involved with it over here in the track day industry, I just want to do the right thing by people. I think it can be really daunting and really tough to get in and meet the right people. And yeah, I think I'm just trying to be one of those people in the middle and have fun with it.
Yeah, okay. So obviously you've sort of tapped into a niche market where and safety as well, Caitlin. I mean, you know, you're touching on safety operations to make them a better driver. I got Caitlin upside down. I'll take that one off.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Are you still on your phone?
No, my phone was just played up, so I was just trying to jump back on the laptop.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's go to the esports. And I'll play a clip to let viewers know. This is the first race in Monza, and it's a pretty impressive grid when you think that you guys are only racing it, you know, on a sim. So let's see.
Wood by the looks of things, unfortunately, but Visser is going to take full advantage down in towards turn number 1 around the outside there. They are side by side, but as it stands, it is Caitlin Wood and Visser in P1 and P2. Well, here we go. We are indeed off here. And, well, Caitlin Wood momentarily got a pretty damn good start here. But it's Agron for P3 up into P1. Marty, by the way, up to P2 as we come down in towards turn number 1. And it's 3 wide. It's 3 wide for the front for P1.
So what's the experience like, Caitlin? Like, I mean, you look like you're having fun.
Yeah. It's, you know what? It is stressful. It is so stressful. It is so much fun. I think most of us, like girls, like will say it's new to us. So esports is new. So when you're on the grid in real life, I think, you know, majority of us have been doing it for a long time. We know everything. We know how it works.
Yeah.
Usually we know the cars quite well, and it's just down to us. Whereas esports, it's you know, you get rid of most of the feeling, and it's just like, oh god, is the car going to stop? Is someone going to hit me? What's going to happen? So you just got, you know, my heart rate, I think it goes higher at the beginning of an esports race than it does on the grid. I don't know. I'm going to test it out. Actually, I'm going to wear a heart rate monitor because yeah, it's but it's really good fun, and it's you know, with what we were speaking about with the current situation with the world right now, for WSeries to implement an esports program, I think it was a very smart idea, and you know, to keep everybody involved during this time, and it has been fun, and you know, I've tried to become as good at it as possible, and you know, dedicate time to the sim, and just try and get the knack of it, because for me it doesn't come naturally. I think for a lot of us it doesn't. I think when you start as a driver and then go to esports, it's a lot harder than going from sim racing to the real thing, because as a real driver you're expecting to feel everything, especially in your bum, and then when you jump on that, you don't get that feeling. So it's you know, it's a lot of muscle memory, and you know, it's been really good. I think we're all going to know all the circuits on this calendar back to front by the time at the end of the championship. So yeah, it has been really good fun.
Yeah, and the competitiveness is right up there. I mean, I can see the fight with you and Visser is going to go right down to the last race in Silverstone. Let's have a look at this is at Monza.
And it is Visser who gets a terrible start. So Wood up into P1 then, and I think Marta Garcia is going to take P1 as well. So already 2 changes of lead. We've got 4 cars trying to go into 1, 3 wide through turn 1, through the apex, and they all get through there nicely. And what has happened here? Visser is in P3. Visser third time here going side by side, and as soon as she pulls out of the slipstream, so they head up towards the hairpin here. Such a long run before they start another long run, to be fair. You can see that actually Visser will get into P2 then. And Visser does take the lead of this race then up in towards, and actually used the back marker there a little bit, because indeed Marta Garcia could not get the maximum to open up that hairpin. As we come around the final corner here, and well, apart from a little chink in the armor on turn number 1 or lap number 1, Vaiska Visser will take the race victory here.
So currently you're 5th overall, and the starts are brilliant. What are the little tips, I suppose, or tricks, or little skills that you've learned just in these first 2 races?
You know, it's there's been a lot, really. A lot of it's really under the braking. I think that like in real life, you find a lot of time in the brakes and being able to, again, instead of trusting the car, you're trusting the sim. It does, you know, I think it makes the racing super exciting, because we don't have that fear factor, do we? Well, we don't really have the fear factor in real life, but you have a lot more consequences in real life, don't you? You have, you know, it's like, oh, I don't want to crash. Whereas in esports, it's sort of like you probably go for the move that you probably wouldn't have in real life. So you've got to be really on the ball all the time. And I think just having that, you know, peripheral and letting people make mistakes, pushing people into mistakes and things like that. But yeah, I think a lot of my time on the sim has been found under the brakes and being able to utilize that. And yeah, it's been really good. I've been working with a few different people, and I'm just trying to make myself a better driver, like with what we spoke about earlier. You know, I'm trying to get that good support team around me to make me the best driver I can be.
Okay. And you've got a home track coming up.
I do.
Mount Panorama. Bathurst, that'll bring back some memories, Caitlin. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm excited. It's going to be interesting. I think if we can, I don't know if we'll all make it round, that's for sure. But I think it will be good fun. I definitely have my eyes set on trying to get a win there. That is definitely a goal of mine. But we'll just have to see how it goes. But yeah, I am very excited for Bathurst. You know, it's Bathurst. It's the pinnacle of Australian motorsport, isn't it? So you know, I've enjoyed doing the 12 hours there in the past, and I always want to go back.
Yeah, and let's hope we've got some home fans cheering when we get to that race. I mean, it is full credit to WSeries. I think it's 10. Is it 10 consecutive weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive on 10 different venues around the world, and it's built up a momentum for yourself and for the other one. Yeah, because without and with the cancellation of the series for this year, put over to next year, we don't want to be put in limbo. Yeah, with not really much focus race wise. So what have you got, just to wrap up? No doubt there's plenty of goals and there's boxes to tick, Caitlin, and there's bucket lists, but what can we expect from Caitlin in the long-term range going into 2021?
I know as much as you right now, but I guess long-term goals. You know, I'd love to be back on the WSeries grid. I have unfinished business there, and I want to come back and I guess show the world, because it's a worldwide championship, how good I can be. So you know, I'd really really want to be a part of that in the future. You know, I could list what I want to do all day long. You know, I want to do it all. That's the issue. I want to come back to Bathurst. I definitely have unfinished business at the 12-hour. You know, we came so close in the previous years to finishing. And yeah, it's a pretty tough race, that one. So I definitely want to get back there. And well, my ultimate goal is to win Le Mans, is to get to Le Mans. So that's sort of been my ultimate goal from day dot in endurance racing. I love it. I think it's, you know, it's hard, it's grueling, it's, you know, it's every emotion tucked into one. It's such a team sport, and you've got so many variables. So I think it's very interesting. So Le Mans is definitely on the list. I can't say it'll probably be next year, but we'll you know, I won't say no if it happened. But yeah, it's there's a lot of things. I'd love to do, but I guess they're my main three right now that I want to try and achieve in my career.
Well, I think you got an amazing personality. It's, yeah, you know, full credit. There's nothing easy in motorsport for women. I've been covering women for 10 years now, and each woman has a set of challenges which they have to overcome to pursue their career and to keep in it. It's, yeah. And 2020 is no different. I mean, we've just have a different set of challenges. This time it's affected everybody, Caitlin.
I know, yeah. No, I know. It's you know, I think we're going in the right direction with the world, definitely. From, you know, growing up, I am only young. I am only 23, but you know, growing up when I was 7, you know, when I was young in go-karts, it was very rare to come across other girls. But now, like, I'll go to a go-kart circuit and, you know, there's lots of girls coming through, and it's so great to see. I think, you know, the time is coming where we are seeing more women breaking barriers in sport, in politics, in a lot of things. So, you know, we are at a really good point in society with it all, and I think it's great to see. Like you said, there's always challenges, and I think there always will be, but it's just, you know, we just got to keep pushing through, no matter who you are, like, you know, gender, race, whatever. We all have our own dreams and goals, and we've just got to do what we need to do and be the best version of ourselves to get there. Like I've always said, hard work does not have a gender. So that was my thing when I was coming up. You know, it doesn't matter who you are, hard work doesn't have a gender. So that's always what I've said.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Caitlin, for your time.
Thank you.
You've got so much to share, and I hope we can follow this up later on. Yeah, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the very best for the rest of the series for esports. I look forward to Bathurst.
Me too.
But I also look forward to Silverstone, because I think I think there's some surprises in store, and we'll see Wood there in the P1 position.
I would like to think so. Thank you.
Okay. Many thanks for your time, Caitlin.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, cheers.